The paranormal world is one of moving shadows. Strange figures hidden just out of sight. Supernatural phenomena usually offers more questions than answers. Spirits, demons, and the undead. Join us as we journey into the darkness. With researchers, investigators, psychics, or mediums, each one getting us one step closer to the truth. I'm Sean Wagner, and these are the Paranormal Files.
All right. Good evening and welcome to part 2. Again, Sean's under the weather. This is your host, Michael Purcell, with Josh Purvis from The Searchers. Josh.
Hey,
welcome.
What's up?
And I'll go ahead and say you guys, your website, searchersbelieve.com.
Yep, that's it.
And you're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Linktree.
Yep.
Twitter is the Three Searchers. And on Patreon, Searchers, the Believers Club is their channel. You also have a I'm trying to read his note.
We got a little bit of everything. So
Exactly. He has a lot of stuff, but I wanted to make sure I plug your
absolutely. The best way to, if anybody wants to check any of it out is to just go to our Linktree, linktree.com/searchersbelieve. I think we have the link to everything you could ever want that's Searchers on it. So
that's convenient. So
yeah.
Google search, one-stop shop. And you also have your podcasts are on YouTube as well.
Oh yeah. So our podcast, it's on everywhere you can listen to podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You name it, it's there. It's called The Paranormal Mind, and man, that's been a really enjoyable endeavor of ours. Tomorrow will be our 32nd episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, I know on our last episode, we talked about paranormal.
Yeah.
Now, the CARCUniversal is predominantly heavy with Bigfoot and other cryptids.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you get into other cryptids?
I do. Matter of fact, if you let me see if I can. I got a Bigfoot right here on my arm.
Okay.
People tend to see if I can turn it all the way around.
Mothman?
Yeah, Mothman on a skateboard. So I've been fortunate enough to at least be on one Bigfoot investigation, and that was fun, man. It was fun. We did see some weird stuff. Did not see a Bigfoot, but I did see all these glowing orbs on the ground, like they were embedded onto the surface of the ground. It was strange.
Wow. Okay.
We did that in that investigation out in Moorhead, Kentucky.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this, man, because that was part of an event, and the people of Moorhead that came out, I've never seen so many people come out, even in the paranormal community, with so many just truths when it came to witnessing Bigfoot or Sasquatch. It's just commonplace for those people, and so it's fascinating. It's fascinating the amount of stories and testimonials that you can get out of that stuff.
Are you a believer, or are you just?
I will use a small snippet of what I was told by John Tenney one day. So John Tenney, if you haven't had the chance to meet him or hear any of his lectures, I highly encourage you to do so. He's a great speaker. So he makes the comparison of, typically he'll ask, all right, how many people believe in UFOs? And you'll get some people. How many people believe in Bigfoot? You'll get a couple of people. How many people believe in ghosts? Everybody raises their hand, right? And he says, so you mean to tell me that out of the billions of light years and galaxies, and planets out there, you think that we're probably the only ones? And then if you look at the Sasquatch, if you put that in relation to going out deer hunting, how many times do avid deer hunters go out and never see a deer? Happens all the time. You don't believe in a Sasquatch, but you will believe that somebody's soul can transcend time and space and talk to you. So, if you look at it in that kind of lens and that perspective, it's man, you really, you really should believe in all of that stuff, right? Logically, you should. And then if you look at the scope of searchers, searchers largely believes in everything until shown otherwise, right? It's a different side of skepticism, if you will, where instead of shutting down ideas, you accept every idea and just filter to which ones you happen to resonate with, and you collect up, an experience off of.
No, that's a good approach. And I know my wife had a sighting in 2021 here by our house here in Pennsylvania.
Really? That's fascinating.
Yeah. And I was oblivious. We came out of our driveway, which is maybe 1,000-foot driveway, turned left, came to a stop sign where you can only go left or right, and there's a big cornfield. I was driving. It was a early afternoon on a February day, and I looked left or right, kind of paused, and as I was turning, she saw something big, black, bipedal walking across a cornfield quick.
Really?
She's a hunter, so she's seen bears and stuff, and it wasn't a bear because they don't stay on 2 feet. So this got the whole thing going for her. And then she's normally not a quiet person, so we were on our way home, and I'm like, "So what's up? You've been quiet all day."
She had to let that one simmer, what she had seen, right?
Exactly. I'm like
trying to collect herself on it.
What's going on? And she said, "You're gonna think I'm crazy," and I'm like, "No, I already know you're crazy. I married you."
Yeah, we passed that point, right?
Yeah, we're past that. Go ahead and hit me with it. And I'm like, now we're from a small area, like north of Harrisburg, more probably saying north of Hershey, and that in Pennsylvania on the east, like the central part.
Yep.
And so she made it like her thing to like try to prove what she saw. Like what was it? And then this is how she got into it. So then she did a BFRO. She was doing research. She's like, "Oh, there was a sighting here, and there's a sighting in Shamokin." And I'm like, and I'm from Shamokin. It's a small town. I said, "Oh, it's a coal town." I'm like, it's probably back in the day when there were coal miners coming out of the thing, and there was a bar on every corner. So of course they're going to see something big and black walking.
Hey, I'll tell you this, man. Real life is always stranger than what we give it credit for. So you never know, man. I do have a local friend and business owner here. He owns a bar here. But he, as a kid, had he doesn't believe in ghosts, by the way. Or, he had an experience with Bigfoot, and it's like when he tells the story, it's like it was yesterday. He remembers every bit of it, and he's like terrified of it now.
Really?
Yeah. We have a Bigfoot museum up North Georgia as well, because North Georgia tends to be a hotbed for Bigfoot sightings too.
Okay. My wife was down there this year. So when she had her experience, it was September of that year, was her birthday, and 2 guys from the BFRO were having something out in the Allegheny Park.
Okay, yeah.
I'm doing it. And I'm like, okay, doing it. So she went out. I drove out in the camper, had the pups in the thing, and she did her thing. And she started a brand, and she got the trademark just this June when we're going out to Gatlinburg for the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot.
Okay.
So she started a brand called Got Knockers, and it came out because there was a guy from one of the falls from the BFRO had two branches stripped down, and she's like, "I'm going to make you a t-shirt," and it has Bigfoot facing forward, and you can check it out on Facebook, Got Knockers, and she's at but yeah, and she was standing on a branch, and it has Got Knockers with a question mark, and she sent him the t-shirt, and he's like, "You got to do something with this. You got to trademark it." So we go sell our wares, and we're actually down probably I don't know how far Westminster, South Carolina is to you.
Not far. I would argue probably just a few hours. Yeah.
Okay. We did the 11-hour trip. Again, she spoke at that festival, and that's a nice little one downtown. And like you were saying about that business owner, there was a woman who came in, bought a shirt, and she was like, told us a story how at 14, her and her dog were walking, and she saw like a baby squatch in a tree about 12, 14 feet high. And,
really?
I mean, you could, there's some people that you question, and like there's some people that you could just see the passion when they're talking about like what they've seen, and you have to give them more credit.
Yeah, because they talk in a way where they're not even they don't care whether or not you believe them.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're just telling you the story. Like they know that it's real. That's what's so interesting about people that have had experiences with Sasquatch and Bigfoot is most of them tend to be that way, where like it's like you can't convince them they didn't see it. Like
right. No, because like it was a bear or it was a
right.
a deer or something like that. No, deers don't walk on two legs, and a deer. I mean,
yeah, exactly. A lot of these people are like your wife. They're hunters.
Yeah,
like, they're not dumb. Like they know more about that stuff than I do. Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting when you first started talking. You were saying about the amount of hunters go in and don't see a deer. When she does her presentation, she brings up the fact that how many hunters went in and like saw like deer bones or bear bones. How many found a bear? How many found like snake bones or something? Because there's a lot of snakes in the woods. There's a lot of deer in the woods. And then, have you ever found any human bones in the out when you're out hunting? And they're like, no. Maybe one person saw bear, few saw deer.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, so you're telling me out of the millions of people, there's nobody walking into the woods and dying naturally that you come across. And then why do you expect to see a Sasquatch when there might be?
No, exactly. I did a little bit of research before I went and did my Bigfoot hunt, if you will. And in Moorhead, there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings. We went to what's called the Daniel Boone National Forest up there, and so you probably know this, but Daniel Boone wrote about a Bigfoot interaction that he had in his diary, or in his journal. So he called it the Wild Man, but he describes how big it is and stuff of that nature. Anyway, in investigating kind of strange phenomenon there, what I found was there was a lot of relationships to missing persons and UFO sightings when it came to Sasquatch as well. So a lot of stuff going out there in those hills, I guess.
And other places, because I think it's Dave Pilates that does the missing 411.
Oh man, I was going to mention that earlier. The one that would really resonate for Bigfoot, enthusiasts would be the Hunted. I think 411 Hunted.
Okay,
that's what it's called. And it's stories of people, avid hunters, going missing, and they're not by themselves. There were like large groups of people, but there are a couple of cases towards the tail end of that where there's video camera footage of like really strange screams and stuff out in the woods and whatnot. It's something.
Now, because with the CARC, my wife went up to New York for the messing one. It was a hunter. He was out with it. He was like in the 80s.
Yeah.
We left the old guys there, and the young guys were doing the pushing, and he just vanished.
That's it, dude. That is, yeah. And then there was one where like, they're out west. He vanishes, and he was like right next to where his car was, but his bow's there. Like everything that he had with him is there.
It's wild. And then even here at our area, there's a state park that my wife does. It's like maybe not even 10 miles from her house. She had a guy come up and report that he saw a family of 4. I have a friend that probably about 7 or 8 years ago was walking in the trail. He was 3.5 miles in with his dog, and it was snowing, and he came across a big footprint. He walked 3.5 miles back to his car, got his camera, took a picture, and then walked out. I'm like, no way. I would have saw it.
Some of the castings and stuff people have gotten to are pretty impressive.
Yeah,
there's pretty detailed ones.
So there was with the missing, there was a gentleman that went missing at this. So you can't, at the one part of this, it's a reservoir for the water, or like water supply. You can't have any kind of boats, and you're really not supposed to go near the water. And this guy was an avid jogger. He would go there, and on one day he didn't come home, and his car was there with his keys in it, and he was nowhere to be found. They called out search and rescue, everything. They scoured the area, and it was like a week later they found, and they found him on the I want to say shoreline, but like the water's edge,
right.
And where they've already searched, and it was like crazy that they found him. And his wife said that he didn't know how to swim, so there's no way he would go near the water.
Right.
And
man,
it's not like,
that's something too, right? Is there a lot of them that are being found like at the banks of water, but it's like 100 degrees outside and they died of hypothermia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, I know with our fire company, and we have 2 bloodhounds that we're training for search and rescue, because people are like, oh, the dogs wouldn't pick up their scent. It's like, no, dogs would have picked up the scent to the water's edge, and stopped and looked at you going,
what do I do next?
You went that way, and I can't go any further. And the dogs didn't go down near the water's edge. And then there was another guy in probably 10 to 15 miles, not in the same year, a couple of years apart, and he went out not hunting on his property. He was going to go check his trail cams. Left in the morning. He was on his 4-wheeler. He was dressed in camo and everything, and I guess it was like 5:30, and he never came back. They a couple things there, and it's interesting. 2 guys on the river fishing had documented, this was documented in this the report, that they saw what looked like a beam of light carrying a body. Because what was interesting about that, and interesting about this story, was this gentleman went out. It was maybe like a mile or so from his house. His 4-wheeler was overturned, nowhere to be found. The dogs came, and again, dogs know that if you left that 4-wheeler in any direction, it would pick up your scent, right? They never left the 4-wheeler, and 75 feet in the tree was one of his boots. The next day or two, I think it was like 2 to 3 days, they found him in a thick briar brush, 150 some yards from his house, where searchers had searched, and he was emancipated. Now, my wife's a paramedic, and she's like, there was no way somebody could be in 2 or 3 days. It takes more than that.
Right.
Yeah. I thought so.
Man, I'm telling you, man, like there's something going on out there.
Oh, yeah. So, do you investigate UFO sightings, or have you, or would you?
Would I? Yes. I would say I researched this stuff a lot. I wouldn't call myself any kind of UFO hunter. That being said, a really unique story of mine. I was jogging in a local park near me, just exercising. I would go out there every day, run a couple of miles. And as I'm running the lap, other people do the same, right? Mm-hmm. There was an older lady. She had to be probably in her 70s out there running, and she stops, and I'm just running. She was like, I just saw my first UFO for the first time right now. Like, I was like, what? Like, just out of the blue.
Wow.
And so stuff like that makes you really think, though. It's like, this person probably goes out there and runs all the time. Mm-hmm. And then just that day, she's like, I just saw my first UFO, 70 years old.
That's, and then going back to, you were saying about how, like, believing in ghosts stuff, to take it one step further. I mean, there's people that believe in a God.
Yeah.
And they never seen a God. They never seen whatever religion you are. So why is it? And I thought about this weekend. We were in Westminster, because somebody had said something, and I thought to myself, you won't believe in like somebody, like, if one person said they saw a unicorn, okay, maybe. But if it's been over 100 years or 1,000 years and it's been reported the people saw a unicorn, somebody there has to be telling the truth. It can't be. So why is it so odd to say, I don't believe in unicorns, when somebody be like, well, have you seen the God that you, and I'm not putting down religion. Right. But
no, me either. But I get it.
You practice, you go to church, you believe in a God, but you've never seen him, her, or anything. So why is that so infected that you can't believe in stories of like a Sasquatch or ghosts or UFO?
Yeah, it is interesting of how people try to pick and choose that kind of what's reality for them. I mean, let me see if I can find my tattoo again, but this right here, this Bigfoot is actually a real cave drawing of a Bigfoot. And like little Bigfoot with him. Like he's like the father figure of them. And that is in a cave, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what, that wasn't a big bear, because bears don't.
Right. I mean, they only know to draw in things that they see,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. This is a good, interesting topic, along with the ghosts. I mean, I've always believed in ghosts and spirits. I mean, I've had stories. Like I remember working at a window place, and the one girl I worked with, her grandmother passed away. She came in the next day and she was like telling a story how, like, when her grandmother passed, she appeared at the end of the bed for her sister to say goodbye. And I got the chills, I mean, I've never seen a ghost. I've never seen a full apparition. I mean, now that we investigate, and we've had a team here at the house that has said that we have 4 entities in the house, that I was oblivious, because I was in the house before my wife, and I think she brought some of the stuff because she's been touched and stuff like that. But I've never seen one, but I believe in them. And then my parents had COVID. My mother got sick before Thanksgiving in 2021, maybe, or 20, and my father Thanksgiving Day. And then when they came out of the hospital, they stayed with us, and they were in a room. And my mom would say in the morning, "Were you and Gwen talking to each other around 2:30 in the morning?" We're like, "No, we were sleeping." She's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm most positive that we're not talking at 2:30 in the morning." So the one night she put a camera in the room, and then outside I have a shadow box, and she put a tape recorder on that. She didn't even tell me she did this. And they moved out, and that was probably like February, March. And she was like, "I'm going to go listen to that recorder." And it's the craziest thing. You could clearly hear a young woman's voice, whisper, go, "Watch them." And I was like, man, because she also said the one night, now, I don't think it's the medications, because we got married in Ireland in a castle. And the one morning my mom comes down and she says, "I saw a knight standing at the end of my bed."
Oh my God.
I'm like, I would like to have that medication or whatever you're taking, because I'm like, I asked the owner before we rented. I'm like, "Is it haunted?" She's like, "No." And I'm like, "What's she gonna say?" Yeah, maybe we cancel our reservation.
Yeah, right.
But my mom said that, and then the one night, not only asking us if we're talking, she was like to Gwen. She's like, "Gwen," she's like, "I saw a woman standing at the end of my bed, and then there was a guy," and she's like, "And then all of a sudden, a young boy came out of the closet, and then they disappeared." And I was like, okay, now the folks that we did have here, the psychic said there's a male, a female, there was possibly a child, because there was something going up and down our hall that she couldn't get a handle on. But she did see a woman, like when we were all standing around talking, my son was behind me, and she's like, "There's a woman standing right behind your son, as is to like watch over him or something." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
I will say this: it used to be so much more taboo to talk about the paranormal, in my younger years. But like, there's been a lot of the private residential cases that I've dealt with, man. These are like engineers and doctors and, military generals and, stuff of that nature. Like, they're not messing around. Like, they've seen some stuff, and they're pretty smart and can problem solve. So if they're asking me to come check out something, it's tough for me not to believe them.
Right. Oh yeah, I agree. Because I know we've investigated a couple private residents. We also went to some other homes. I remember we went to with our team, the Central Pennsylvania Investigators. We went to a place in Columbia outside of Lancaster. It was the same. I can't think of the last name. It was Sam something Mansion. Then it was like a feed mill. Now it's a printing place. So like it's you walk in and straight back, it's all the printing. You walk through a door, there was like a seating area, like a room, and then you walk through another door, and I took you to the upstairs and the rest of the place. And when we were standing, all talking around, it was my wife, there was me, and then there was the owner, like almost like a little U shape.
Right.
And all of a sudden, like right between my wife and I, an orb just came shooting out of like right between us. And it was the first time I've seen an orb. And I was like, did you see that? She's like, out of the corner of her eye, she did. And I don't know how she did it, but it wasn't planned. But she was taking pictures at the time, and she looked at the picture. And just like the iPhone has that photo in motion, the Samsung has that. So you could see from the shoulder up this orb
that's cool.
come through.
Yeah, that's
cool. Yeah. I would love to see a full body apparition.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I've done events in the past where we, people buy tickets to investigate, and there's a place called the Thomas House Hotel in Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee. And so they would actually rent rooms out to stay the night and stuff. And it was so commonplace for people to buy tickets for those things, and they would leave. They'd go and see something in their room. They would pack their stuff and go.
Oh, wow.
Like that. We had that. We've probably had that happen 5 or 6 times over the course of all the events we've done there. See people claiming they see Civil War soldiers in their rooms, going up to use the bathroom maybe and washing their hands and look in the mirror and see somebody in there with them. They will. We're in the middle of our talks down in the banquet area, and you see them go out the door with their suitcases. They're gone, man. They're gone.
Yeah, that would be wild. My sister got married in Gettysburg in the square, and it was an old bank converted into a banquet hall. And I remember one of her friends came in, and they were at the high school, I believe, and they were taking photos on a digital camera at the time. And they showed her a picture by the tree. There was an apparition of a soldier. And I thought that when I saw that, I was like, wild. And then my son at the time was like 8, and he's like, let's go look for him, Dad. Let's go look. I'm like, all right, because there was supposed to be a sub level where you weren't allowed to go. And I'm like, let's go. If you want to go, we'll get on this elevator.
Yeah, let's figure it out.
Yeah. Be prepared.
That's
if you open that door, something's going to stand there.
Yeah. You don't know what you're going to find.
So it was wild. Well, I want to be, I could talk for a while. I want to be respectful of your time. We are at an hour. And,
all right.
It was nice getting on to the Sasquatch talk.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And I do dig those tattoos, the Bigfoot and the
yeah. It's kind of become my monster / cryptid ghost storm.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to pass if you're interested in doing a Bigfoot one. I know my wife does one here from behind tall trees.
Nice.
You want to talk about Bigfoot with her?
Yeah, I'd love to, man.
All right. It was very nice talking to you, Josh.
Yeah.
Again, is there anything you want to promote coming up?
The biggest thing for us right now, again, it's Darkness in Suburbia is coming out with its first episode. It's free to stream on scarenetwork.tv. They have a Roku app or channel, if you will. You can download that now. They are going through a transition of this free to stream app platform now instead of the subscription based one that they had before. So in the coming weeks and months, they're going to have their apps back out for, Apple, Samsung, Google, you name it. So yeah, the first episode releases tonight. I think there are 7, maybe 8 episodes of that coming out. Each episode will be coming out every Thursday.
And you did say it's Scare TV, because I'm going to check
ScareNetwork.tv.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing right now is if you have a Roku TV, you can download the channel, and if you don't, you can sign up just on a computer through the website. It's scarenetwork.tv.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to check that out, because that is wild. That
the
house is like a development.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So, all right. Well, thanks for joining us. If you stayed this long on this episode, go ahead and please give us a thumbs up and a like, or hit the bell for, subscriptions. Like us, share us on Facebook, because we are definitely trying to get out there. And it was great talking to Josh. I appreciate your time. And I know I would like to have you back, because it seems like this hour went like that. But I do want to be respectful. And, even if you bring it back for 30 minutes.
Yeah, you know where to find me.
And I would definitely, because after I watch a couple of these episodes, I'm gonna have some more questions.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Right. Look forward to it. Thank
you. All right, I'm gonna play the outro. Everybody, have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. See ya.
See ya.
This has been a CARCUniversal production.